Well, thank you. Thank you and welcome to University of Chicago's information session on the Masters of Liberal Arts program. As you can see on the slide, we're requesting that you mute your mic for the session. However, during Q&A, you can feel free to unmute and ask your questions. Otherwise, you're also welcome to use the chat feature. And as you just heard, we are going to be recording tonight's session as well. You have two presenters for tonight's call. One is Tim Murphy. He's our MLA program director. And then myself, Carrie Dempsey, I'm director of recruitment for the Graham School at University of Chicago. We have a very full agenda for tonight. We'll be talking about the University of Chicago and the Graham School. We'll also provide you a very thorough overview about the MLA program itself. And we'll also touch on student support in the application process, and we'll pause a couple times for Q&A. And I'll turn it over to Tim to talk through our first couple of agenda items.
Thank you and good evening, everyone. Welcome virtually to the University of Chicago. University of Chicago is a private research university located on Chicago's South Side in the Hyde Park neighborhood. If you've heard of us at all, you probably know that University of Chicago is a global destination where top minds come for intellectual challenge. And our commitment to rigorous inquiry and investigation has helped shape scholarly fields and define schools of thought all across the world. And UChicago, by the numbers, we have 97 Nobel laureates affiliated with our university, which means they've either studied here or taught here. Our undergraduate college is presently ranked number 6 in the nation. And interestingly, University of Chicago graduate students outnumber the undergraduate students here, which is relatively rare in higher ed among universities. And a robust, very proud alumni network, just shy of 200,000 members. Some key attributes that define our university. First and most importantly, curious. UChicago is a curious institution. Our people here are curious about ideas and how those ideas intersect with the world around us. Rigor is a word you'll also hear a lot here. We are a place of determined questioning, ceaseless learning, and open discourse. At UChicago, ideas are judged on their merit and not on their source. Assumptions are constantly and continually challenged, and breakthroughs are expected. Innovation is also top of mind here. It goes hand in hand with the rigorous attribute. If we're always asking why something is done a certain way or could it be done better, then innovation is unavoidable. And collaboration is important in virtually every aspect of the work that we do. So if that's UChicago as a whole, we, the MLA program, are housed in the Graham School. The Graham School at UChicago is the division of continuing education for lifelong liberal arts education. We were a founding member of the university, so we've been here for over 130 years, longer even than the law school and the medical school at UChicago. And the Graham School today offers a wide array of programming across the liberal arts. The MLA, the Master of Liberal Arts program, is obviously what brought you here tonight. It is currently the only degree program at the Graham School, but some of these other programs, the non-credit options that you see listed here are all excellent. The basic program is a 4-year discussion program through the great books. You read the Western Canon or a huge chunk of it. Open enrollment are classes that are offered in all sorts of different subjects, and there's no set curriculum or expectation of pacing. So in the open program, you take non-credit classes at your will. So maybe some kind of music appreciation class in the fall, you could do some history in the winter and come back for some art in the spring, that sort of thing. And a number of travel study programs that are also popular. But we will stay focused on the MLA tonight. But just before I go off this slide, I'll just encourage everyone to explore some of these other programs in more detail on our website. And please don't hesitate to be in touch if you have any questions about these other programs. I'll be happy to answer them or put you in touch with someone who can answer them. But we're here for the MLA, so at a very high level, the MLA program is a part-time program for adult learners. This has a few implications I think are worth unpacking a bit. First, the part-time program. We're part-time because the overwhelming majority of our students are working professionals. So the program is designed to fit into the busy schedule of our busy students. And part-time program for adult learners. Adult learners means that our students and your future colleagues potentially are mature adults who bring a rich lived life experience and diverse professional backgrounds to the educational process. Rigorous interdisciplinary curriculum. We're an interdisciplinary program, which means you'll be taking coursework and subjects all across the university. Plenty more to say about that when we dig into the curriculum in a few slides. The list of benefits of pursuing a liberal arts education is long, and we'll be here all night trying to make it comprehensive. But suffice it to say, sharpening thinking, that's critical thinking, synthetic thinking, and logical reasoning skills, and writing skills and leadership skills would certainly be near the top of the list of those reasons. We do offer a broad interdisciplinary curriculum, but there are opportunities to pursue a concentration in the degree. We currently offer 2 in the field of ethics and leadership and literary studies. Our remote classes are synchronous, which means everyone's logging into Zoom at the same time for class seminar conversations. And this is juxtaposed against sort of asynchronous degree programs where you just sort of are working through online modules at your own pace. And the classes are offered on weeknight evenings or Saturday mornings, again, with a nod toward the schedules of working professional students. And those classes will meet for 3 hours once a week. So why an MLA degree? We have a diverse body of students that come from diverse geographies, diverse professional backgrounds and personal backgrounds. And that diverse set of students is coming to the MLA for a diverse set of reasons. But if we're going to sort of break them off into categories here, the first category is personal enrichment. We have a little quote and headshot of one of our current students, Thema. She's a math teacher at UChicago's lab school. She teaches high school math. But don't tell her math colleagues that she's always harbored this secret passion for literature. So she came to the MLA to scratch that itch. And you can sort of see her quote here. I'll read, why not? School has always been a happy place for me, and I have desperately wanted to study literature. The MLA program has made that possible and opened me up to a broader skill set. I formed connections with students from all over the world. So personal enrichment is sort of one area. Professional advancement is another, and probably the largest of our student body. We have a quote here from Brian O'Connor, who works in New York at JP Morgan. Brian says, the MLA program helps you develop skills to better organize your thoughts, sharpen your points, and deliver a strong argument. Brian comes from the financial sector, but this dynamic is true for our students that come from the fields in education or business or finance, healthcare, among others. And finally here, expanding intellectual horizons, a quote from one of our international students who joins us on Zoom from his home in Beijing. He has an education consulting company, and he says the MLA has provided him with an unparalleled intellectual feast without requiring his relocation. He's able to discover time-tested insights that help him better and more clearly think through decisions in this time of unpredictability. And just an obvious point to make about all three is that these categories, of course, aren't mutually exclusive. In fact, for many of our students, I think a little bit of each of these is true and at play at the same time for them. Our classes are run as Socratic seminars, so you'll get very little lecturing in the MLA. Diverse lived experiences of our students make for the most enriching and educational conversations. If we're all in a literature class and the question at hand is who's at fault in this novel, which character are we going to blame in this novel, you can imagine that an attorney is going to have a different perspective than a community organizer. Those ideas are sort of, and those different viewpoints are sort of hashed out in our classroom in lively and spirited, friendly debates, all done in the spirit of joint inquiry. The magic of the MLA method here is when these diverse perspectives are explored together collegially, then everyone in the room walks away a little more enriched. Of course, these seminars aren't these lawless free-for-alls. These conversations and debates take place under the expert guidance of a UChicago faculty member who's leading the conversation. And speaking of those faculty members, they want to be at that table or the Zoom room. They want to be part of those conversations just as much as the students do. The faculty members tell us that they walk away teaching material that they've taught for 20 or 30 years with a better understanding as a result of hearing perspectives of folks who've been around the block a little bit. It's a different dynamic than they're used to in sort of the traditional graduate or undergraduate settings that they teach in. But beyond that, just a few points to make about our faculty. The first is that unlike many of our peer programs, the MLA doesn't hire adjuncts. We find tenure line faculty members in the main divisions of the university and invite them to teach in our program. It's not a knock on adjuncts, of course, but we have tenured Chicago faculty who want to teach, so we invite them to do so. Without putting too fine a point on it, they're eminent faculty, they're world-renowned scholars. To give one example, who didn't even make the cut here on the slide, Michael Turner is a cosmologist, and he teaches a class for us on cosmology. It's a class called the New Cosmology. You explore gravitational waves, dark energy, and things like that. And Michael Turner is the scholar who coined the term dark energy. So you get it right from the source in his course. But most importantly, our faculty are all exceptional educators. We've all had the experience of being like in a math class with a brilliant mathematician as the faculty member, and the gap between their knowledge and the student's ability is just so wide that it's not an effective mode of instruction. We don't have that problem with our MLA faculty. They're exceptional educators. They're very generous in the classroom, and they're eager to participate in that spirit of joint inquiry that we referred to earlier. So while the majority of our classes are offered in a remote format, we do have a relatively new and exciting addition to the MLA classroom experience, which is the residential seminar. As we saw at the Graham overview slide, the Graham School has been leading travel studies to Oxford and other places overseas for a number of years that are wildly popular. And while we have been remote and our students have come from all over the country, it dawned on us that our beautiful Hyde Park campus is a travel study destination in and of itself. So we created this residential seminar aspect, optional aspect to the MLA program. So students who sign up for the residential seminar come to campus for 1 week. They stay on or near campus, and they're in class all morning and all afternoon for 5 days. So in a normal MLA class that meets once a week, you get 30 contact hours in the classroom. And in the residential seminar, you get those 30 contact hours in that one intensive format of the week. So you walk away with a full course credit that you picked up over the week of the residential seminar. We've offered 2 so far. Last spring, we had a class called Humanistic Inquiry. And last fall, we had a course called Foundations of Ethical Thought. And we're very excited about our upcoming one that's going to run this May, called Digital Ethics, exploring issues of ethics in digital life. So issues of online privacy, piracy, artificial intelligence, things, blockchain, and a few other topics as well. So that's the residential seminar. But on your screen now is our curriculum map. There are 9 required courses for the MLA degree, which you see represented by the 9 different boxes on your screen. The first cluster of 4 here on the left represent the MLA core distribution requirements. MLA students will begin their journey with us by completing 1 course in each of the 4 main academic divisions of the university: the humanities, the social sciences, biological sciences, and physical sciences. And the goal here is to provide our students with a broad foundation and expose them to different forms of scholarly inquiry and the distinctive methodologies that underpin those different disciplines. So to gain fluency and understanding across different scholarly disciplines. But for example, you take a biological science class with us, not to walk away a biologist, but to better understand crucial elements of the scientific method. In short, to see how a scientist views the world. After you complete your 4 core classes, you move on to your electives. There's 4 electives, 3 general electives, and 1 elective that needs to have a non-Western focus. So the general electives can be taken in any subject matter that's of interest to you, maybe something of particular professional relevance or lifelong personal interest. And the non-Western class will just be a class engaging in content or ideas that come from outside the Western European tradition. And speaking of electives is a good point here to discuss the optional concentration option if students choose to pursue that. So we have 2 concentrations on offer right now. in the field of literary studies and ethics and leadership. The way you earn a concentration is you bundle your 3 general electives, and instead of just taking whatever's most interesting in any given quarter, if you focus your general electives on coursework that our office has pre-designated as counting toward one of those areas of concentration. So you bundle your electives and you also write your thesis on a topic that could broadly fit under one of those 2 umbrellas, then you will have earned an MLA degree with a concentration in either ethics and leadership or literary studies. So it's not extra work, there's not extra classes, you don't pay extra tuition or fees. It's just a way of providing some cohesion to this interdisciplinary degree if that is of interest. And I think right now, probably a little north of a third of our students are pursuing a concentration. So to give you an idea of what some of these classes look like, in the humanities division at UChicago, that's where you'll find philosophy and literature and other subjects. So 2 upcoming, in fact, both of these are being offered this spring. A class called Ethics and Literature, looking at George Eliot's Middlemarch, and a class called 20th Century American Fiction. You read short stories in that class. Social Sciences at UChicago is the division that houses history and anthropology, sociology, political science, among others. 2 social science classes that we offer every year. One is called the Ethnographic Tradition. It's taught by a sociologist and teaches students how to go out and do field ethnography as a sociologist would. I always refer to that as the applied social sciences, and that's compared against the more theoretical social science offering called Meaning and Motive in Social Thought. And students in that class read some of the big theoretical foundational works of the social sciences discipline that folks like Marx and Freud and Durkheim and folks like that. 2 biology classes that we have this year, a class in the spring called the Neurobiology of Everyday Life, and a class that's meeting in the winter right now called Human and Primate Origins, a class on Darwinian evolution. In the physical sciences, there's a class on global warming, the science of the climate crisis, and a course called Models of the Universe that'll be run in the spring, which is just as much sort of a history of science, history of mankind's unfolding understanding of the universe as it is a modern day astronomy class. And again, especially for these last, biology and physical sciences tend to be the ones that students get the most nervous about. So just to reiterate the point that I made earlier, these classes are designed to be taught at a generalist level. So while they're absolutely academically rigorous, they're taught at a level that a layperson could come in and pick up if they're willing to put the work in. So that means there's no wet lab component to your biology classes, and there's no advanced physics in your physical science classes. We're after big ideas and concepts more than math and biology labs. Some examples of the electives and concentrations. General electives, we had a class last year called The Problem of Evil. It was a philosophy class grappling with mankind's 4,000 or 5,000 year philosophical grappling with the problem of evil. A class that was sort of half labor history, half human rights, called Human Rights and the Meaning of Work. And we had a class in the Florentine Renaissance. Those are all our general elective examples. Some non-Western electives. Modern Russian history was run last summer. We'll have a class this summer on cross-cultural medical anthropology, looking at wellness and care in different cultural contexts, and a class on Indian cinema for your non-Western electives. So students who are pursuing the ethics and leadership concentration will take classes like a digital ethics course in the upcoming residential seminar. Every year, every spring, we have a class called History of Ethics. That's just sort of a pure philosophical introduction to ethics. And we had a class last fall called The Moral Arc of American History, examining the lived historic experience of dealing with ethical and moral questions across American history, starting with slavery, of course, and then moving through questions of political representation, civil rights, and gender and sexuality in more modern 21st century life. And students doing literary studies had a class called Imagining the City, looking at the role the urban environment plays in some late 19th century novels. Poetry class, cleverly titled Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Poet? And a class examining the tradition of wisdom literature in a couple different cultural contexts. So just a few high-level points to make about the thesis process. The first point to make is that when it comes, well, throughout the whole process, there's lots of support. From coming down from the very beginning, when you're figuring out what topic you want to write about, what interests you enough, you could keep a 35 or 40-page argument going. We have a writing advisor who works exclusively with our students that's involved in that process. And then once you have your idea and your proposal approved, it'll be executed under the guidance of a UChicago faculty member. It does not have to be someone you took classes with in the MLA, just someone anywhere in the university that has some expertise in your area of interest. We will pair you with that scholar. A few recent thesis examples are on your screen there. I won't read them to you, but I think that they do a good job of showing the diversity of topics that can be explored in an academically rigorous way, but all in the same liberal arts interdisciplinary program. The final thing there is the slide's called thesis / special project. Special project is an option for students to satisfy the thesis requirement, and students that tend to be a little more creative minded. I don't know if that's left brain or right brain. We'll say left brain. Have satisfied the thesis process by doing creative work. So books of poetry, collections of short stories, a novella. Someone did a physical work of art a couple of years ago, and that satisfied that the thesis special project requirement. So actually, I'll stop just briefly sharing my screen. In a moment, I'm going to turn it back over to Carrie to finish us off here. But we'll just do a quick temperature check. Threw a lot of information at you. So if there's any questions about the sort of the structure of the MLA program or the curriculum, we could do it now. Otherwise, we'll have a Q&A at the end. Great. So all right, I will turn it back over to you, Carrie, and mute myself.
Great, thanks, Tim. So we'll start off by talking about the different types of student support resources that we provide our students here at University of Chicago. And students within this program have access to the same exact resources that our other master's level students have as well. As Tim mentioned, there's quite a bit of academic advising that is available to students. We also have writing support. We have expansive opportunities in terms of career support and networking opportunities. We have a beautiful campus library, and students who are local to the Chicago area are welcome to come and use our resources there whenever they would like. We have a very vibrant alumni network, as Tim showed you at the top of the call. There's close to 200,000 people that are part of this, and it's definitely something that you can become a part of and engage with those alumni at different opportunities. And University of Chicago offers a number of different events throughout the course of a year. Some of them are on campus. And again, if you're local and you'd like to join us, you're welcome to register and attend. But we also offer a large number of virtual events as well for students who may be out of the area, but still are looking to engage with the university in that way. So in regards to tuition, we have 9 courses in the program, and total tuition is just over $34,000 for the total cost of the program. We have a $75 application fee. However, for any attendees tonight, we do waive that, and we will work with you when you get to that point in the application process. In terms of loans, if you are a student that's taking 2 to 3 courses during a quarter, you are welcome to apply for federal student loans. If you're only opting to take 1 course during a quarter, there's also private loans available. And to all students that apply for the program, we strongly encourage them, if they're employed, to check with their company's tuition reimbursement benefits, because a lot of times there's resources available there for you to use to help fund your education. And then as we look at the application process, the first item is a writing sample, and this is a lengthy lengthy document, usually of at least 5 pages. But you don't necessarily have to write something new for this piece. You are welcome to submit something that you wrote for work or you did in another academic setting. We are, open to looking at different types of pieces. If you don't have something readily available that you can use here, we also have students write a review of a movie or a book that they enjoyed. But in many cases, someone has something existing that they can use to submit for this. We do also need transcripts for any prior education you received at another higher ed institution. For the application process, you can submit unofficial transcripts, but we will need official transcripts prior to you starting in the program. 2 professional letters of recommendation. They can either be professional or they can be from a former faculty member, teacher, some sort of academic advisor. So there's some flexibility there. There is also a candidate statement. This is where you really tell us more about you and your interest in the program. This is really definitely a very important piece of the application process. So anytime that you save submitting an existing writing sample, we really strongly encourage you to put that energy into the candidate statement because we do take that very seriously in this process. We also request that you submit a resume or CV. And there's also an interview process. So if you decide to move forward with the application process, you'll meet with Tim, also another member of our faculty, and you'll talk about the program and your interest in attending. If necessary, also submit your TOEFL scores. And as I said, there's a $75 application fee, but because you've attended tonight's session, we will waive that for you. So just a couple of important dates to keep in mind. We're coming up quickly on our spring application deadline, which is March 1st. As you saw, there's a few steps in the process, so we strongly encourage you, if you're planning on joining us in spring, which starts on March 20th, to really start working through that process, probably starting next week. So we have plenty of time to get your interview scheduled and those other documents in time to make the decision for you to start in the program. So any additional questions?
Could you just say a word about what you're looking for in a professional recommendation for those of us who have not been in an academic environment for a few years, as we seek colleagues or leaders that we worked with to write something? What are you looking for?
So that's a good question. So you'll give us their name and email address, and then the system will automatically send them a list, a link to upload the letter, and a couple prompts. If you're getting a professional letter recommendation, the prompts will be something like, evaluate the candidate's ability to see products through to the end. In your estimation, their ability to juggle multiple tasks or something and come into a rigorous graduate program, and personal qualities too. The questions about character and intellectual curiosity make the list as well.
Thanks.
All right.
Great. Well, thank you so much for attending tonight's call. We will reach out to you to see if you have any additional questions as you make your decision in terms of proceeding with the application process. But we hope you have a wonderful night.
Thank you very much for joining us.